The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. Once again, France is looking towards Africa not to repair the damage of the past, but to rescue its future. President Emmanuel Macron is now urging French citizens to open companies across Africa, calling it cooperation and investment. But Pan Africans know this script too well. When Europe talks business, in Africa it often means control without flux. And this is how they always play their games in Africa. Exploitation without chains. And we know this perfectly well because ever since we came in contact with them, this has been their motive. And this is how they always live with the African. This video exposes why Macron is pushing French companies into Africa, who truly benefits from these so-called partnership, and what Africa must do to protect their land, labor, and sovereignty. Africa is not a marketplace for foreign rescue. We need to understand that, like the way they took it, it is a continent rising, and the era of economic domination is being challenged. Stay with me as we break it all down from a Pan-African perspective. Emmanuel Macron is openly calling for these people to come into Africa. For what reason? And why can't they build these companies in their respective countries? Why is Macron now forcing these people to push into Africa? Like he said, it isn't that they have abandoned Ouagadougou, but it's just that you understand what happened. And he claims, like the way Macron still speaks, it means that they still have control in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, but it's like they have just gone on break. Yes, we can say that because looking at what is happening in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, they still believe that they can still come here and have their way. But it is time for you and I as Africans to also understand that this is not a place for other people to come and thrive, like the way they made it seem.
We completely changed the software since the Ouagadougou speech. It's an equal partnership. We reviewed, and we were right to do so, our military bases. It was seen as an abandonment. Think again.
We have done things with consistency.
We rebalanced the partnership. We removed the military component that was no longer understood by the countries and the youth. We rebuilt a military partnership that is relevant and has shown its strength and relevance in Benin, and that we are building with several other countries. We have done it on new themes: entrepreneurship, youth, cultural and creative industries, sports. We have a completely new memorial and cultural agenda that has allowed us to rebalance things so much. And we want to mobilize our diasporas even more. The African partnership is key. By 2026, we need to complete this work with a much more ambitious policy on our diasporas. That's part of the objectives I have set. With the Nairobi summit, which will be held next May, and is a very important meeting, it will embody this true revolution in approach, placing our partnerships at the heart, precisely in the economy, entrepreneurship, the cultural and creative industries, placing African actors at the center, and it will be held for the first time, not only in Nairobi, but I have invited Prime Minister Modi to join me, along with Chancellor Merz. This also shows the change in approach and mindset. And so regarding Africa, let's follow through with the logic, demonstrate effectiveness, and strengthen our partnerships. And I am obviously not being exhaustive. I mentioned Morocco. I could have talked about the strength of the relationship today with Nigeria or South Africa, and that with Kenya as it is embodied. And we will obviously continue to follow the major crisis from Sudan and the Horn of Africa to the Great Lakes. But this African strategy and partnership is one of the priorities for 2026 because we have to draw our interests, our influence, our credibility from it, thanks also to the diplomatic choice we have made and this investment in recent years. I ask you to relay it in all embassies in Africa and elsewhere. And where we need to improve things is in the involvement of the economic world in Africa. We are methodically doing, in terms of the economy, the exact opposite of what I just said. That is to say, as we have completely reinvented the diplomatic relationship to make it more understandable, too many of our groups have withdrawn from the African continent. So, I am asking for answers on financial matters. 15 years ago, we were a banking and financial power in Africa, everyone sold. Whose fault is it? What is to blame? The regulations, we are told very well, is that they are foolish. Because the truth is, it's taken over by others. And there is a greater unanimity among many that is no longer understandable. And so I asked the minister to really review things in depth, and basically let's bring more and more French groups to Africa, but let's bring those who are hungry.
Those who do not behave well and those who are not hungry should not be brought along anymore. On the other hand, there are many
small and medium-sized enterprises, startups and intermediate-sized enterprises that want to work well in a respectful manner in this spirit of partnership. We must go all in. In any case, it is a partnership I believe in which we have demonstrated effectiveness.
On which there is a battle of narratives, it is fundamental.
And so we must keep moving forward.
The youth of Africa is running out of the continent to other places, yet these people are finding it difficult to do whatever they want to do in their respective countries, because Africa is where they are always surviving. This is where their survival depends. This is where they get their daily bread. This is the only place that these people can make sure they live. And that is why, in order for them to move you and I away from whatever that we have here, so we will not have interest, they have to find a narrative for you and I, which they claim Africa isn't a place for you and I. But we must understand that there's nobody that can come into the continent to change the narrative. And there is no way in this world that you, an African, can ever move to get it all. Everything that we need is in our continent. It is the time for you and I to stay back home, to change the narrative, and now to live, making way for these people to continue to come into the continent for their own selfish gain. This is the time for you, the African, to know that you have the best in the world. You are not poor like the way they preach. This is not a hell like the way they preach. If so, why is Macron now calling on the French people to come into Africa and expand? Because they are still believing that other people are coming into Africa to carry Africa away from them. So they must continue to have their influence here. That is why they did everything possible to make sure they thwarted the coup that happened in Benin Republic. We as Africans must see the value in our continent. This is the only place that you, the African, can ever live and be loved. This is our home, and there is no place like home. We must stay back home. We must love our continent. Everything black is beautiful. Everything here is beautiful. Who told you we have nothing? If so, why are they coming here? Why can't France make sure they build their companies? Because we know the state of their economy. The French economy is collapsing. Why don't they sit there and they're rather coming here? What are they coming to do if Africa is poor? Africa did not have anything. Africa do not have anything. But all of these people are coming here. Even when we are even asking them we don't need them, they still find their way back into Africa. That should tell you there's something these people are hiding away from you, the African. And now we are fortunate that this is information era. We have everything that we need to be able to defend, to be able to work with, to be able to change anything in our continent. It's not like those days that the narrative is told by these people. But now you and I have access to information, and we should use this information to our advantage. And we must reconscientize the mentality for us to know that there is no place like Africa. This is the heaven. They lied to us. Is the hell. This was where they discovered that we are walking on gold, and quickly they kept it in the book, telling you that when you die, you walk on gold. If there is any gold anywhere, let them have access to it, because the African already have gold. Let us enjoy the gold that we have here by rising to protect, to fight for the gold that we have here. We are already walking on gold, so let them go there, work on their gold, so that the African will be free. so that we can have our peace of mind. You have to start loving yourself as an African. You should start believing in yourself as an African. This is the era that you, the African, should be proud that you are a black person, because all the lies that these people told, everything is before you. It is left unto you to decide as to whether you continue to believe the lies that they keep telling you, or you believe in yourself that you can do it. There is nowhere like here. There is nowhere like here. This is the most beautiful place that nature has ever given to us, and we must be proud. And anybody that controls Africa controls everything, and that is why they are still fighting, making sure they take out Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso leaders, because they don't want the African to unite to fight. When they succeed, it will push other people to also fight for their sovereignty, and we must make sure we fight to join Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world, in Europe and in France.